Carthage used to be Rome's legendary enemy, but they weren't formidable enough. When faced with their ultimate defeat, they refused an offer they shouldn't have. Hi, my name is Sebastian. You're watching Mistakes That Changed the World. Carthage was on the brink. Long gone the days when the citizens of Rome feared invasion from the mighty Carthaginians. Now a relentless Roman tide had washed away their strongholds in Sicily and the islands, while their Spanish lifeline had been severed. It was the heartland of Carthage that trembled now. The indomitable Scipio Africanus, fresh from his Spanish triumphs, had landed a colossal Roman army on their doorstep. To compound their misery, their former ally Massinissa had betrayed them, bringing his formidable cavalry to bolster Rome's ranks. With Scipio's legions and Massinissa's horsemen converging on their city, Carthage faced a moment of unparalleled peril. Cornered and desperate, Carthage mustered its remaining forces. Syphax, their last powerful ally, rallied to their cause. With renewed vigor, they marched against Scipio, but the tide of war had turned decisively. In a daring night raid, Scipio's army shattered Carthage's hopes, annihilating Syphax's forces. With their allies vanquished and the Roman juggernaut at their gates, Carthage faced an impossible choice. Their only hope lay in the return of their legendary general Hannibal, who was summoned back from Italy with the remnants of his once mighty army. Hannibal made a daring escape from Italy with a hardened force of 15,000 veterans. His return ignited a flicker of hope in Carthage. Meanwhile, Scipio, under immense pressure from a jealous Senate eager to claim its final victory, sought a swift end to the war. He extended an olive branch to Carthage, offering remarkably generous terms. Carthage would retain its commercial fleet, the lifeblood of its economy, and enjoy a degree of independence. It would no longer be a military power, but its commercial might would remain intact. Carthage was a shadow of its former self. Its manpower was depleted, its treasury drained, and its allies had abandoned it. Even with Hannibal's return, the odds were stacked against them. A protracted war would be a slow, agonizing death. Yet, with Hannibal at the helm, hope ignited. The city's leaders, perhaps blinded by pride or a desperate gamble, rejected Scipio's generous terms. The die was cast. Carthage would fight to the bitter end, and that was their mistake. The stage was set for a showdown that entered the history books. The formidable Hannibal, at the helm of his hardened army and supported by the fearsome might of war elephants, faced off against Scipio Africanus and his disciplined Roman legions. Rome's cavalry, now bolstered by Massinissa's horsemen, promised a decisive advantage. The fate of Carthage hung in the balance. Hannibal deployed his forces in 3 formidable lines, a classic Carthaginian formation. In contrast, Scipio adopted an unconventional tactic. Roman legions were typically arranged in a checkerboard pattern for maximum flexibility, or a single line to maximize frontline strength. Instead, Scipio opted for long, deep columns of maniples, each containing 100 to 180 soldiers. This unusual formation was a calculated risk, a deviation from the tried-and-true Roman tactics. Hannibal's gambit with the war elephants was a spectacular failure. Instead of breaking the Roman lines, the terrified beasts caused chaos and disarray among both armies. Massinissa, seizing the opportunity, unleashed a devastating cavalry charge against the Carthaginian flank, routing their horsemen. The ensuing melee was a spectacle of confusion and carnage. Yet, the Roman cavalry's pursuit of the fleeing enemy left the infantry on both sides locked in a brutal close-quarters struggle. For a moment, the tide of the battle seemed to favor Carthage with its superior numbers. Hannibal unleashed his first wave, the Gauls, These fierce but undisciplined warriors were a human battering ram tasked with shattering the Roman formation. The clash was brutal, a swirling vortex of sword and shield. The Gauls, with reckless abandon, sought to disrupt the Roman lines while Scipio's men fought to maintain their cohesion. It was a test of strength and discipline, a clash of titans in the making. Hannibal's carefully laid plan began to unravel. But, while the Gauls fought with ferocious determination, the second line of Carthaginian troops inexplicably held back. Sensing betrayal, the Gauls sought to retreat, but the impassive Carthaginian line blocked their escape. A fratricidal struggle erupted, weakening Hannibal's forces from within. Seizing the moment, Scipio's hastati launched a counterattack, driving a wedge into the chaotic Carthaginian lines. As the Principes surged forward in support, the once formidable Carthaginian army crumbled under the relentless Roman onslaught. In a desperate bid to escape the enemy, the second Carthaginian line turned tail, their retreat a chaotic stampede. But their path to safety was blocked by Hannibal's elite veterans. These seasoned warriors, hardened in the crucible of battle, held their ground. To allow the fleeing Carthaginians passage would expose them to the merciless Roman advance. Thus, the unthinkable happened again. Carthaginian fought Carthaginian, brother against brother, in a desperate struggle for survival as the Roman legions closed in. Scipio, having regrouped his forces, launched a final decisive assault on Hannibal's veterans. The once formidable Carthaginian army, decimated by internal strife and now vastly outnumbered, fought with a desperate courage born of despair. Yet, against the relentless Roman tide, their resistance was futile. The return of the victorious Roman cavalry sealed their fate. Hannibal, the legendary commander who had defied Rome for nearly 2 decades, was forced to retreat to Carthage, a broken and defeated man. Scipio, from now on Africanus, stood at the gates of Carthage, his victory complete. A siege would be costly in time and resources, and Scipio's political standing in Rome was precarious. With a touch of irony, he offered Carthage peace once more, this time on far harsher terms. Carthage, stripped of its army and its pride, had no choice but to accept. The once proud maritime empire was reduced to a mere shadow of its former self, its fate irrevocably tied to the whims of Rome. It was a bitter pill to swallow, a stark lesson in the unforgiving nature of war and the consequences of unchecked ambition. Hubris, it seems, was Carthage's fatal flaw. Defeated twice by Rome, the city-state should have learned its lesson, yet a mere 15 years after their humiliating defeat, Carthage embarked on a perilous path once more. Ignoring the stark reality of their diminished power, they hired a mercenary army and attacked a Roman ally. This act of defiance was a fatal miscalculation. Rome's response was swift and merciless, not just conquest, but total annihilation. Carthage, once a beacon of prosperity and power, had failed to recognize the stark truth. When faced with an implacable enemy, discretion is often the better part of valor. The annihilation of Carthage was a pivotal moment in history. Had this brilliant trading empire survived, the course of Western civilization might have diverged dramatically. With its mercantile spirit and family-centered society, represented a stark alternative to Rome's militaristic and state-centric model. Perhaps a more balanced, less expansionist world order would have emerged. Instead, Rome's triumph ushered in an era of conquest and empire building that would shape the West for centuries to come. The fall of Carthage was not merely the end of a city, it was the eclipse of an entire worldview. But hey, that's just one opinion. Do you agree? Let me know what you think in the comments downstairs. Don't forget to subscribe for more wild stories about the twists and turns of history. If you like what you saw, perhaps you might want to visit my Patreon page. I do want to thank my long-standing patrons Dan and Lawrence Neal for being my fans for years. In the meantime, I do hope to see you next time. Bye.